Hey everyone, it's Mario Time 1000. That's right. There's actually another video. I didn't believe it either. This box out of here. I mentioned in the last video that there were a few diecasts that I still wanted to look at that I didn't get the chance to look at that I had. And these are them. These are all These are the three different drivers that drove for Sauber in 2017. I just said that this was not my favorite team in the last video, and I swear it isn't. But I wanted to get these still because I do like the team. You know, maybe it is my favorite team. I don't know. Um, None of these are my favorite drivers though, so yeah. Uh, I don't really know if this is my favorite team or not. Now that I'm actually looking at all this, it makes me think, yeah, maybe it is. But obviously, as I said in the last video too, I do like the underdogs, the underfunds, and 2017 for Sauber is the very definition of underfunded. I also mentioned that a little bit in the video, but yes, three different drivers, three different diecasts. In the last video, I also mentioned, I was talking about, of course, this car back here. I talked about why I really don't understand who would make this. And one of these cars is one of those diecasts. I really don't understand why they would make this, but obviously I'm living in a world of NASCAR diecasts where they don't even make diecasts for some of the most popular drivers. So seeing a full field, I mean, you could buy a diecast for every single driver, maybe even every single car that raced. The interesting, I'll get into that later, but today I wanted to talk about these. I started to make a video about these when I first got them, but it failed because I was under the old format. And then back here, since we're looking at the three Saubers here, I figured we could take a look back at all the other ones that I have. I don't think this is okay. I know this is definitely not the team I have the most diecast for. It would be Red Bull, just because it was so easy to find the Barago ones, and also Kvyat. So yeah, we're gonna take a look at these not by driver but by race, and by race I mean Grand Prix because yeah, let's move on for that. So first, the most interesting one, in my opinion, as we push these off to the side, Antonio Giovinazzi. His number 36, Sauber C36, for the Australian Grand Prix of 2017. Now, Antonio Giovinazzi only ran 2 races in 2017. He's only ran 2 F1 races in his career so far. And they made a diecast for his first ever start, and it's pretty cool because wasn't even supposed to drive in 2017. He wasn't signed for the Sauber team as like a main driver. So the fact that he got to drive and the fact that he got a diecast is pretty cool. It's just so odd because you would see something like this in NASCAR. It's a weird comparison to make when you're comparing, two motorsports, Formula One and NASCAR, comparing how the diecasts are made. It's probably a comparison not made very often. If you saw, like, I don't know, what's an example of, Regan Smith, coincidentally enough, him driving the 95, they wouldn't go out and make a whole new diecast for Regan Smith driving, but hey, with F1 diecast, it's just different, I guess. This is pretty cool. I'm going to have to flashback a little bit. He ran pretty well in Australia. I think he finished 12th, which was ahead of Stoffel Van Dorn's McLaren, so he didn't finish last of the cars that finished. I believe 12 cars finished. Also, a quick reminder, with these cars, I recommend putting them in the plastic case like the 3 back there are. I didn't have these in the plastic case and kind of regret it because they're a little bit dusty, but we'll get around that. Also, they look a lot better than they do on camera because this camera sucks. But yeah, looking around the car, We've got 25 years instead of a main sponsor. As I said, Sauber pretty much had no main sponsorship. I think they had one for Singapore, and that was it, I think. But yeah, at the beginning of the season, they weren't as bad as they became late in the season. They had the 2016 Ferrari engine in this car and not the 2017 one, which actually kind of helped them a little bit because they had a reliable, developed engine, but it was slower. So yeah, it hurt them in the end. We've got gold. I really like the gold on this car. It shines pretty nicely. 36, which was their test number. It wasn't like Antonio Giovinazzi's number. We've got Pirelli, 25 years in Formula One, and the little warning things. Got the little driver here. I didn't even mention that this driver figure wasn't in the show presentation Alfa Romeo car, but it was obviously not in there because that car didn't like drive in that presentation. We've got a couple sponsors here. We got the Solana thing, which is probably a Swedish or Swiss company of some sort. I know Sauber was pretty much owned by Swedish investors at this point, so I wouldn't be surprised if that was like their little showing. We've got this sponsor on here again. But yeah, this is a very nice car. Very nice looking 2017 car out of the way, but it was probably the least fancy in terms of aerodynamic bits and bobs because obviously, as I said before, this was the worst car in the 2017 season. That is hands down. McLaren had a great car, but a bad engine, and they got points still. They still got the most points. I really don't want to be as harsh as I am on this team, but it sucked last year. But Antonio Giovinazzi, his career in F1 may not be over because it is rumored that he could be heading back to Sauber for 2019, partnering Kimi Räikkönen. Now, I talked about his Australian ride, his race in China. As I said, he raced twice. I didn't actually look at the rear wing either, but it's Swiss F1 team, yeah. He crashed in qualifying in China. I think he made it to Q2, but didn't actually get to run a lap because he crashed. And he crashed in the race pretty much the same way. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. But, he may have his second chance sooner than later. Moving on now. We are moving away from Antonio Giovinazzi, and we're moving on to Marcus Ericsson. His 2017 Sauber C36, but it's the number 9, and it's actually in the font that Sauber had their numbers in because obviously that 36 is just like a generic thing because they had not planned that. I didn't mention, we'll talk about it later. He was the lead driver, as I talked about in almost all my videos. You can see the little T cam thing is plain black. That means he was the lead driver. This car is actually pretty interesting because it is on the intermediate tires. I have not yet shown off a diecast on the intermediate tires or on any slick tire or on any wet compound tire. I've only shown off tires that are slick because diecast made on non-slick tires are not very easy to come by. This is from the Chinese Grand Prix, and if you know, it was a intermediate start. I believe everyone except Sainz started on wet or intermediate tires. Sainz started on super soft, and it would have worked out pretty well if there wasn't a safety car for Giovinazzi's crash. Because everyone would pit, or maybe it was the virtual safety car for Stroll crashing that ruined everyone. But this car is actually a tiny bit different. I pushed away Giovinazzi so quickly, but I'm bringing him back. If you notice, there are a little bit of aerodynamic bits and bobs, winglets, by the 25 years of Sauber. I point them out right here, and here. There is something that was not on the Australian car. Maybe that's an Ericsson thing. Maybe that is that they just brought that upgrade to the race. I really don't know. It could. No, looking at the other one, it's probably an upgrade they bought to both cars, but very interesting. Pretty quick for an aerodynamic upgrade. I can see there's dust on this. I'm being very careful because if you've watched my videos, you know I have an unfortunate reputation of breaking these things off when I do these videos. But yeah, intermediate tires, very, very cool. They actually did this. They do have the grooves in it, although I don't think they'd be able to push water like a real F1 car because the wheels don't move. But yeah, we've also got a T-wing on the car. That was not on Giovinazzi's car, as you can see. There's a little thing there, a little wing there. Also the front wing, or also the front wing. The shark fin is actually different too. You can see it's got a little bit of a indent here, a giant one, and it's not on this car, but you can see there's a black piece, like they just kind of covered it up with a different material. Like this is carbon fiber, and this carbon fiber, and this is just something else. Pretty interesting little details on these diecasts that it's actually pretty cool that they made, because they very much could have just slapped a different driver in here, put a 9, and then called it the Chinese Grand Prix, because I'm sure they had soft tires at the Chinese Grand Prix last year and could have just made the same diecast twice, basically. But it's very interesting that they did mold these little differences. I don't know if there's any differences here in the rear diffuser area. But yeah, very nice. Marcus Ericsson season, pretty crappy. He finished 11th a couple times. There was some talk mid-season that they were favoring. I don't remember if they were mad that they were favoring Ericsson over Wehrlein or Wehrlein over Ericsson. Yeah, he had a lot to prove coming into 2018. That's all I can say, because he had a couple rough seasons at the Sauber, which was just losing money and losing money and losing money. Despite the fact he was bringing in money, they couldn't keep it because they didn't have real sponsorships. No, that's not going to do it for me. Oh, no, we've got this, I think it's just a Sauber F1 team down there under the Swiss flag. Oh, we had it, but we didn't. And then there's the Sauber logo. We've got the 9 E-Docs. It's probably watches. Doubt it, but I feel like every F1 team has a different watch company. Pirelli, 25 years in Formula One. Same old. No sponsors, same sponsors. There are hardly any. Of course, CNBC, obviously. Very nice diecast. I'm glad that it is here. Marcus Ericsson, rough season in 2017. Probably with the showing that he had in 2017 and 16. Many people believed he did not deserve the ride for 2018. They thought it should have gone to Wehrlein. The difference between Ericsson and Wehrlein is that Ericsson's had the money. But yeah, he's had a good 2018. And maybe people are talking, maybe he should be in the seed still. I think he's driven to maybe have I think he's driven well enough to be in talks to have the seat. That's really all I can say. But hey, he didn't crash in 50% of the races like Giovinazzi did. Ha ha ha. But yeah, that is the Ericsson diecast. Very nice diecast. And we'll move on to the final one. The guy who scored all the points for Sauber in 2017, Pascal Wehrlein. Very, very interesting driver. And it's actually a bit timely that I do this video because it's in talks that he could be coming back to F1 in the form of Toro Rosso, which is pretty interesting because he has just recently been let out of the Mercedes junior driver program. Obviously, this is not a Mercedes car right here. This is a Ferrari. Interesting how he got him in. Mercedes, I guess they just really wanted Pascal Wehrlein to be in a seat. So they decided to put him in a Ferrari, even though it wasn't like partnered with Ferrari because, you know, they had a 2016 engine. Slight differences on this car compared to the Ericsson car. Mainly the shark fin and T-wing. The T-wing is gone, and the shark fin is all carbon fiber, which is very, very another little difference that they didn't really need to do, but they did. And we've got these little winglets still on the car, which is why I thought that maybe it was just a car, maybe it was just a Marcus Ericsson thing here that he had these winglets, but no, it's Wehrlein's got them. Both cars got them. He started the season with a broken back, I believe, and that's why Giovinazzi ran in Australia and China. But once he was back in Bahrain, he was on fire for the very, very beginning of the season. He finished 11th in Bahrain, I believe. Very good first outing. And then he got points in China and Baku. And that was it. He finished 8th in Baku, which was really good. He finished, I think, 7th on track, but he had a time penalty. I actually forgot that he had finished 7th originally. That would have been pretty cool. A top 7 for this team with that basically had no car. Very, very cool, but he got relegated back to 8th. And then he got 10th in Baku, and that was it. Very, very bad season for Sauber. I don't know if I've stressed that enough. It was a very, very bad season. But very good driver. It'd be pretty cool if he came back. I don't want him to come back if it's at the expense of Kvyat getting a ride, though, because there's also talks that somehow Kvyat could get back into Toro Rosso, which is just kind of amazing if you think about it. I'm going to stop the video right here. If you think about Kvyat coming back to Toro Rosso, it's got to be the biggest confidence booster ever. The team that didn't want you, that thought you were crap, is now coming back to you and saying, we need you to drive. Maybe it's just because they don't have any other drivers, but still, that's got to be an amazing confidence booster. I hope that happens. But considering how far they went to get Brendan Hartley just so they didn't have to have Kvyat back in the car, I think shows what Toro Rosso are capable of doing, which is why I don't think Brendan Hartley will be in that car next year, because I think they will go out of their way to make sure he's not in, because he has not been doing that good. I think he has 1 point, 2 points this season. Yeah, not a great season for Brendan Hartley. But yeah, kind of feels bad, but back to the Sauber. Yep, this is pretty much the same old, same old. I didn't mention Marcus Ericsson actually almost got points in Mexico last year. I forgot about that. That would have been pretty cool, but he had an engine problem, and I think the safety car kind of screwed him over. I think there was a safety car. It might have been a virtual. But yeah, very nice diecast, but it's pretty much the same as... I never really gave a good look at the front. I know I did the diffuser. This looks the same on all of them. I don't think there are any real differences in the front wings. And there's another sponsor here, Power, by that Silana thing, so it's not really a new sponsor. But yeah, that is it, I believe, for this video. Really cool that we got all 3 cars for all the 3 different drivers. Yeah. Very, very, very cool, because you don't see this all the time. Now, I said this earlier in the video. Now, I've got the 3 different drivers for Sauber this season, but I think the ultimate challenge to get all diecast, and I haven't done any research on this, so I don't really know if it's possible, but Toro Rosso, they had 4 drivers last season. You could get Carlos Sainz, Danny Kvyat, which I already have, Brendan Hartley, and Pierre Gasly. That'd be 4 different diecasts, but it does not end there. It does not end there. Because Brendan Hartley, for his first race, was a temporary driver. He was not a Toro Rosso, permanent fixed driver. So he ran the number 39 in the United States Grand Prix, and he then ran the 28 for the rest of the season, and still is. So if you really wanted every single Toro Rosso, you would have to get 5 diecasts. Now, that is probably where most people would draw the line. You can go a couple steps further, because Toro Rosso had this weird car switch thing where Pierre Gasly raced Kvyat's car. The only reason you can tell is because of this little T-cam I bring up every single video. Gasly ran the first car, the black T-Wing car, in Malaysia, and so that would be the first Gasly car. And then when Kvyat replaced Gasly, he didn't really replace Gasly, he replaced Sainz, because in the United States Grand Prix, he had the yellow T-cam, so that would be a second Danny Kvyat diecast that you would have to get. I really doubt they made that, but it's just a thought. Then you would have to get another Pierre Gasly diecast because when he came back from Mexico, he was in the other Toro Rosso. Because the way the switch went was it went Kvyat went to Kvyat's car went to Gasly, then went to Hartley, and then Sainz's car went to Kvyat and then just to Gasly. It's a really confusing mess. I don't really know why they did it, but they did it. And because of that, if you wanted every single different car driver combination that Toro Rosso had, you would have to get 7 diecasts. Personally, I think the 5 would be enough, but if you want to be crazy, I just spent like 3 minutes talking about that. That would be crazy, but I doubt they made the different Kvyat and probably even different Gasly, but it wouldn't shock me if they made the 39 Hartley and the 28. It wouldn't shock me, but I haven't done any research on that, so you probably only would be able to get 4, but just an interesting little thing. But that wasted a bunch of time in this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.